Okay, so today we have Mr. Ravi Brahmapuram, the CEO of CloudOnHire, software company based out of Bangalore. So, good evening, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mahesh.
So, I understand that you are from Bangalore, and you've done your education, and you've been basically born and brought up in Bangalore throughout your life, and your education is from Bangalore, and you passed out from RV College,
Yeah, that's correct.
right? One of the best colleges in the country.
Yes.
So if you can just briefly tell me, how did you select RV and how was the journey?
Okay. So, yeah, what happened was those days there was CET and we didn't have any other entrance test like ComEd-K. So we took up CET and I got a rank less than 500 and that way I was able to join RV college. So even those days, RV was a prestigious institute and you needed to have a very good rank. And based on the rank, I had an option to choose the branch. And since computer science was an upcoming field, so I decided to take a risk and take up computer science. And luckily, it paid off.
So you were you like a topper in your school throughout, and then continuing that in RV, or how was it?
No, I was always, in the top five, but yeah, I was not the topper. So, but in the CET, since I went for some coaching at MES college teachers, they helped me get up to speed and also to learn lot of the tricks that helped me score very good in CET.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. And then RV was your first choice, was it?
Yeah, RV was my first choice.
And then so basically you got what you wanted.
Yeah, correct.
In
That's true.
computer science. So there was no sort of confusion in your mind as to whether I have to go for this or that. You just got what you wanted.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I didn't try for IIT. So that way and also I didn't try for MBBS. So my focus was only on engineering and
Okay.
I was thinking RV, Ramaya, BMS, BIT, UVC in that order. So since I got RV in the first list, I did not, worry too much. It was a very happy moment for me.
You just grabbed it with both your hands.
Yes, yes.
And how were you in college? Was it studies throughout, or you also had some fun?
Those days it was not all studies like I see people doing. It was not highly competitive. Nowadays, I feel that, engineering colleges also are turning more into like school. RV was like that even then, but even then, people didn't put as much effort as I see some of the students doing now. So that way, we used to go and attend the college every day because even then attendance was like 75% mandatory or something like that. But it was not very hectic. So most of us, since it was a yearly scheme, not a semester scheme, life wasn't as hectic as it is now because in semester you just pass one exam and again after a few months you end up with another exam. So only the last 3, 4 months was a struggle. Otherwise, life was
Hmm.
good in yearly scheme.
You're saying unlike the current students who are struggling every 3 months, you
Yes,
had to struggle only 3 months of the last
last
in a
end of the year.
year. So you had a lot of fun as well along with studies,
Yeah,
right? So okay, now you chose RV, you chose computer science, and you had fun in college as well as studied. And then how about your placements, sir? How did it go?
yeah. Those days we hardly had a placement. So I think maybe one or two companies had come to RV college those days, and so we were all left up to ourselves to find a job. Luckily, the IT boom was just starting, and we were the second batch of computer science graduates. So if we can write a simple program like an Hello World, people were ready to take us in. But again, those days writing an Hello World was not like 3 lines the way we see it now. It was a longer program, but that's all you needed. You just needed, to write Hello World, and you can get a job in Wipro or Infosys. I also had practice for GRE, which helped me in the aptitude test. And
Ah,
yeah, that is very important. If people take up GRE, even if they don't intend to go abroad, it will help them in getting a job.
so you joined Wipro is what you're saying,
Yeah, I
and
took up Wipro because they paid me 300 rupees more.
that's an interesting story there.
Yeah,
Probably we can discuss that in detail on another day,
yeah.
right? How long did you stay at Wipro, and primarily what was the work that you did?
So when I started with Wipro, we were working on something called Wipro Cobol and Wipro DOS, and supporting first project for State Bank of India, banking solution. So yeah, we none of us liked working on a Wipro COBOL, but so we started with Wipro COBOL, and then I worked on other projects which involved C++. Then I moved on to Basic. After Basic, I was sent to US. So there I started working on Visual Basic. So the first decade I would have spent on Microsoft technologies, and then the second decade I started working on Java and all the other open source technologies.
All right, and then you moved from Wipro to.
When I was in Wipro, they sent me abroad. So I worked 6 years in USA. So there I had an opportunity to learn, how Americans work. So, I learned a lot of things from them, and their professional habits. It's like a little different where, during the office hours, they like to focus only on work. And then when they are out of office, they never, carry the work home. But yeah, in India, work and life always mixes. During work, we, do things that are part of our life. And after work, sometimes we carry the work home. So yeah, that is little different. But yeah, each country is different. So we have to learn to adapt, based on the different working cultures.
So after coming back from US, you follow the same culture?
I know that is very difficult in Indian companies, where, yeah, and now that we work for American companies and agile methodology, what happens is every day we have a stand-up call. So we can't always take up the stand-up call at office. So we end up taking the stand-up call at home.
So basically, it's an hustle culture
Yes,
in
yes.
India.
Yeah.
Okay, so after Wipro, where did you work, sir?
After Wipro, I have worked for many companies. I worked for a company in USA, which is now called Epicor. And then I came back, I worked for iFlex, which is now part of Oracle. And then I worked for a company called Tavant and 24x7 Learning. So after all this, I decided to start my own company. So about 15 years back, I started CloudOnHire. So when I started, I wanted to work on cloud computing technologies, but over time we have specialized in CRM solutions.
Okay, so basically, after spending about 15, 20 odd years in the corporate world, this entrepreneurship bug bit you finally,
Yeah, I
right?
know. So you always think, why not do something on our own? And yeah, so that's what happened. So I took the plunge and I'm happy about it.
So initially, it must have been a little challenging, little bit of a struggle, all that.
Yeah, especially for people with technical background. who are more into, develop software development, it's a big challenge because, we are not good at the sales. So it's very easy for a person with sales background to start a company and hire people for operations. But when
Hmm.
you are in development or operations, for you to get into sales and get the projects, it's a little challenge. So yeah, I too went through the ups and downs and learn the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, happy to see you, being so successful. I know it's part of the journey that every entrepreneur goes through, the ups and downs, as you said. But eventually, when you come out successful, that is what matters in the end,
Yeah, correct.
right? So, if you can just briefly tell me about your company, sir, Cloud on Hire.
Yeah, CloudOnHire, as I said, now we are in mainly specializing on CRM. So we do implementation of CRM, and typically it is Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Salesforce CRM, or Zoho CRM. But our main expertise is Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Along with that, we also develop custom software, because what happens is when you go to a customer, even though we may be implementing a dynamic CRM, they will have some custom software and we end up working on that. So our focus is CRM and then custom software. These are the two things we do.
So you have Indian companies as well as global companies as your clients.
Yeah, we have customers across the globe, but predominantly from USA and India.
Any particular domain that you cater to, or it's a domain agnostic, sir?
Yeah, we are domain agnostic. So yeah, we can work across domains. Over the years, we have worked on different domains, be it BFSI, retail, non-profit organizations. We have worked with all of them.
Okay, okay, okay. So basically, anything to do with CRM, any domain, any technology, you can get the work done, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is true.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, okay, sir. I think I'll move to the next question. What do you know? We've been reading a lot. We've been seeing a lot about the latest developments in the technology, industry, be it AI, be it robotics, be it automation. There is a mixture of reactions, mixture of thoughts in among people, mixture of even fear. Whether the jobs will go away. Some people say, it will not replace people, but it will help the people, right? It will help the industry generate more jobs. There is no clear messaging that is happening, right? There is a different points of view, different thought process that is in the air from industry leaders. There is no uniform thoughts, right? What is your view on this?
See, we are all, from we have worked for big companies, and one of the major goals of all companies is to cut the cost. It has been the goal from the beginning of any company, cut the cost, increase the revenue, increase the return on investment. These are some of the major goals for any company. So that being the case, they will always strive to improve the productivity. And when you talk about productivity, so there are two ways. One, you replace humans with machines. So there comes all the robotics and things like that. But there are fields where humans cannot be replaced. But you can make the humans, more useful or more productive. So that is where all this AI and AI associated technologies come into the picture. And yeah, this is inevitable. And the only question is, how do we, upskill and be more relevant and be more productive?
So I'm sure you are, upskilling, as you said, right? Your own employees in this area,
Yeah.
right? So they must be going through a lot of trainings. uh, upskilling sessions and working on new technologies to keep themselves in pace with in pace with the developments, right?
Yeah, correct. See, previously, if we needed to create graphics, we needed a graphic designer. Okay. And now we are trying to play with text to image so that we can create the images, the way we like instead of depending on graphic designers. So graphic designer, from concept to reality, it will take about 3, 4 days. But now this text to image, the Chapit, DALI or other equivalent solutions, they do it in few seconds. So even if we may not go with the final image given by these AI systems, at least we can go with multiple iterations and then come up with like, 2, 3 images and then go to the graphic designer and tell that, do something like this. This improves the productivity of the graphic designer from 3 days to, about 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay. So this is a big savings that we see. Then you take a look at some challenge that we face while we are coding. So previously what we had to do was you had to do a Google search, and the Google will show you like 100 different websites where the solutions can be found. We had to go to each of these particular websites, see whether it is applicable to us. But nowadays, what most of the team members do is they go to ChatGPT first. And the ChatGPT, most of the time, you know, finds the proper solution. So we don't have to go and open n number of websites given by Google, but you can get the summary of the solution from ChatGPT and take it from there. And then, previously we used to have a Java programmer, .NET programmer, Python programmer. And if you look at a programming language, all of them have some primitive data types. All of them have some control statements, and then whether they support object-oriented technology or not. But now you don't need to have programmers who know specific language. If they just know how to logically think and break a problem into solution, you can go to ChatGPT and tell, how do you write this particular logic in .NET, C Sharp or Java or Python, and it gives you the code. So that makes a person who can easily learn multiple languages use these type of systems and code in multiple languages. So we see, and then there are robotic process automation. When people do something, repetitively, those can be automated using RPS. So all these technologies are now enabling people to be more productive. And when that happens, obviously you will see a decrease in the number of jobs because, the job that required a Java programmer, .NET programmer, and a Python can be replaced one person. And similarly, a graphic designer, he will be like, 80, 90% more productive. So it is across the board.
Right. So you had given one example from your industry. It is also applicable, I think, across different industries. For example, be it finance industry, banking industry, right? Probably even agriculture, legal, industry, domain. So I think AI is going to touch everywhere. It is just a matter of people in that particular domain adapting themselves and upskilling themselves, right, sir?
Yeah, yeah, it is true. Because, now given your symptoms, probably AI will be able to tell, what may be the underlying diseases.
Yeah.
Finally, we may need a doctor to actually correlate, what AI is telling, talking to the patient or investigate or with further investigation. But at least it gives a head start for the doctors. And then in many
Right.
cases, it may help you in remote diagnosis. So if you are at a place where you don't have any doctors available, probably we can check on the symptoms and try to self-diagnose. It may be legal in other countries, but at least in India we may be able to get the medicines and prescribe ourselves. So that is where one.
Right.
And then if you look at, lawyers and advocates, they have to go through the hundreds of cases to see, what is applicable. But now all this AI can take a look at it and tell that for this particular case, which previous case ruling can be used. And yeah, similarly, we can find such application in all domains.
Right. It's pretty exciting, right? And also that uncertainty adds a bit of excitement to the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so given this background, what would you like to advise to students, especially the people who are on the crossroads? For instance, that class 12 students, for example, right? They wouldn't know what to take, which course to take. For instance, you keep reading in the news article saying that coders will not be required after some time and things like that because of AI. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of students who will be thinking whether I should go for computer science, which has been the go-to course for quite some time now, right? But future is uncertain, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so what do you suggest students, especially the ones who are, as I said, on the crossroads, right? The 12th standard students.
See, what happened was in the past, the way we selected the course, was based on which had a good demand. So we found in the last 15 years that IT has a good demand, and whether we liked IT, whether we like software programming or not, all of us got into that particular track because finally you will be able to get a job. And if you look at, yeah, one or two generations back, job was very important because, we all did not have any monetary backup or, huge wealth. But now, if you look at the current generation, most of them don't leave for food and shelter. In most of the cases, that is taken care. Okay. Now, what I will advise people is, don't think about a job, and then based on that you decide on your course or your career. So now is the time you reflect what is your strength, weakness, and based on that you decide the course, because this IT may not be as lucrative in the future. So if you are good at music, better pursue music. If you are good at dance, you can pursue dance. If you are good at if you have a legal bent of mind, better go and do an LLB. So you take a look at your interest and pursue the interest, because in the next 5 years, people who take up IT may start struggling to find a job. Once you decide that you want to do something in automobile, for example, go ahead and do the research. Are there jobs in automobile industry? Okay, you can go to websites like Naukri and see how many job opportunities are there. If it is not automobile, then look at aerospace industry, which is very close to automobile industry. And again, go to a site like Naukri and try to see the job prospects in that particular field. So you shortlist based on the analysis, which has got more jobs. Then do some more research, and if required, you know, you can take up an internship. Nowadays, yeah, you don't have to be in engineering to get an internship. We had one person who was very interested. He was just in 10th standard, but he wanted to see how an IT industry works. And companies are open to invite people and offer them internship. So, try to do an internship, see whether you love this particular field, And then if interested, get into that particular path.
So basically, the key is to explore, right?
Yes.
Uh, Identify your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and try to get your hands dirty. Is what you're saying, right? Get
Yes.
your not just go by the textbook, but also do hands-on,
Yeah.
right? That will give you a whole different perspective of the industry that you're aspiring for,
Yeah.
right?
Very true.
Yeah, and how important it is for a person in that age, probably they are 17, 18 or whatever, right? At that point of time, to find somebody who can guide them, who can mentor them, tell them, okay, this is what is your, line of, career. This is what you should be doing and things like that. How important do you think that is?
See, in future, networking and being extrovert will be the number one way to get a job. Like in US, when you see when they are children, they start selling lemonade outside their house, even though they are like 4, 5 years old. And as they grow up, they start working in Disneyland or McDonald's or petrol bunks. So this gives him, a lot of experience on real world, and that helps them to come up in life. So we need to adopt similar strategy even in India, where it's better don't look at, you know, good job, bad job, as long as it is something that, it gives you an experience to learn something, get into it, and don't worry whether it is a paid or not a paid job. What is very important is the experience, and that will help you decide what you love. And once you decide what you love, you will pick the right field, and it will help you prosper.
Great, sir. I think you have given a lot of very important, inputs, especially for not just for students, even for parents. In India, especially, when I think about career, it is mostly about engineering or doctor and these very mainstream careers. But as you said, you need to identify your strengths, and you need to go in that path, right?
Yeah,
So, thank you so much for your time, sir. As I said, it was great talking to you, and I'm sure a lot of students will benefit out of this session. Thank you so much, sir.
yeah, thank you.